St. Mary Redcliffe, Reflections on the Psalms. Today's is Psalm 127. Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labour in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior, are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court. So, some reflections on that Psalm 127 which we just heard. These were originally written by Peter Dill, the reflections that is, not the psalm, and I'm just going to elaborate on them. The psalm begins, "Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labour in vain." This psalm combines elevated thinking with a reference to a familiar experience. Its opening statement is both important and difficult for the serious believer. It speaks of the divine concern for the ordinary matters of life, verging upon the sense of intervention. The conviction that human endeavours are under divine guidance is, of course, important. At least it is a check on human arrogance, though some would claim much more. However, in the face of demanding circumstances, this view is hard to hold, though it is reinforced in the Gospels. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus seeks to turn his followers from anxious thought over what they need. Your heavenly Father, he affirms, knows that you need them all. It is then interesting that the psalmist goes on to talk of the pointlessness of, as he puts it, eating the bread of anxious toil, with the relentless round of rest and activity in a section whose meaning is not entirely clear. Nevertheless, it seems, as some commentators have noted, that the world of the psalmist was as frenetic as the modern world, in which many complain of unstoppable busyness. The psalmist, however, offers the consolation that God gives the gift of sleep. There is an interesting connection here with the French poet and visionary Charles Péguy, who died on the battlefield in September 1914. In one of his poems, God speaks. Sleep is the friend of man. Sleep is the friend of God. Sleep is perhaps the most beautiful thing I have created. And I myself rested on the seventh day, and begin afresh every morning, ever new, like new hope, new hope. While we may find these thoughts comforting, speaking of something we hope for, we have to remember that for many, sleep and the benefits it brings are sometimes hard to find.